everybody. I'm Sherry Flandreau, and I'm the owner of the Goddard School in Auburn, Massachusetts. We welcome you tonight to our webinar. I would like to introduce our speaker, Loyla Louvis. She's a parenting and life coach. She guides moms and dads who want to experience joy while manifesting their family's full potential. She does this by tuning into frustrations of parenthood and customizing solutions to better fit each unique child in their family. We chose the topic tonight, picky eaters, by unanimous people wanting to hear about it. And she's going to talk for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to open it up to questions for everyone to ask a question. If you have a question while she's talking, you can put it in the chat, because that's how we're going to ask the questions to save time. So if you want to put any questions in the chat, if for any reason we don't get to them, we will get to them later after. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Loyla.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you for having me. I'm eager to have this conversation with you all. So first of all, I want to say this. You can overcome the frustration of mealtime with your picky eater, even if you've done everything you can think of and worry that your child is going to live on peanut butter and jelly for the rest of their lives. The common scenario looks like this. You prep the food, you care about your family's diet and their health and their nutrition. You know, everybody's tired, and yet you put your heart and soul into putting good food on the table that you think your children are going to eat, only to have a child declare that they hate it, they refuse to try it, they never liked it, and finally, with tears and whining and complaining, the drama begins. The battles happen everywhere. They happen at the dinner table. They tend to happen again at bedtime, because a child who didn't eat dinner tends to get hungry once they're in bed, and now the whole situation unfolds again. Or at lunchtime, you pack a nice meal for your child, or you sign them up for a nice healthy meal that maybe the school offers, and then you come to find out that your child is picking only the snacks and they're not eating the healthy foods, or they're trading with somebody, or dumping all the food, the healthy food, in the garbage, not eating at all, and then coming home starving with their blood sugar low and cranky. Maybe you're out at a restaurant and you're kind of like tired of ordering chicken nuggets and French fries or mac and cheese for the millionth time, and you want to do better. Maybe the stress and the frustration happens when your family is going over to visit friends and family, and you're wondering, oh my goodness, what are they going to serve? Will my child eat what's being put out in front of them? Do I have to bring my own little stash of food for my child wherever we go? These are the kind of battles and frustration and mental anguish and gymnastics that we tend to go through when our kids are not eating. And as a good parent, you're concerned about your child's health. You're concerned about proper nutrition. You want a peaceful mealtime experience, and you want to offer a variety of foods and have the adventure that food allows us. But most popular is simply not wanting to be the short order cook in the house, preparing 10 different meals on any given night because somebody's not happy with what you made. So what can you do to eliminate the battles around food with your picky eater? We're going to use the acrostic FAT, F-A-T, to get past the challenges with our picky eaters. So the first letter in the acrostic FAT is F, for focus. Focus on the goals. So let me ask you, before I talk any more about this acrostic, what are the ages of your children? Are they, are they on the older side where they're really communicating and saying a lot, or is your child really young and not really communicating so well, and maybe you're left guessing what the problem is. So maybe just share in the chat, how old is your child and how are they communicating to you that they're resisting the food? What are they letting on to? Do they give you any sense of what the problem is? I see you, Jessie. I see you got your little one there with you. So adorable. Um, so spitting out the food. Yeah, and it depends. So these are common, typical, um, and we've all kind of dealt with it before. So what I want to say is, let's talk about the fat. Focus. Focus on what the goal is. Now I'm just losing my notes here. Give me 1 minute while I figure out, there we go. Focus on the goals. So the table, historically and universally, is a place of connection for talking, laughing, and decompressing. And no matter how young your child is, the table still presents that. It's the perfect place to start modeling what's supposed to happen when we get together at the table. The table is, it's like a scientific petri dish where kids learn to normalize the experience of different tastes, textures, colors, and smells by getting exposed to different foods and familiarize themselves with those foods every single day. Before we went live, Mark and I were talking about, or Mark mentioned the fact that when you're in a different country, he was raising his family in a different country for a while, you're exposed to completely different foods and you have no choice other than, if you're going to eat, you're going to eat different foods. I left the United States as a child and was sent to my mother's home country in South America, the jungles of Venezuela, where there was not a hamburger or French fry to be found. And just out of mere hunger, you start to figure out what else you're going to eat. So focus on the goals. The table is your science petri dish, where your kids are learning to normalize the experience of different tastes, textures, colors, and smells by being exposed to them over and over again. And it's okay to not like everything. When your child spits something out, or cries or pushes away from the table, that's an acceptable response. Show empathy toward their feelings and opinions, acknowledge them, right? It's not, there's not a problem because our children are showing a dissatisfaction or dislike for something. Show empathy for the feeling and the opinion, but stay focused on the goal at hand, which is try new things. Once that task is complete, meaning they've tasted the food, they've eaten 1 or 2 bites, then they can move on to the next healthy thing on the plate. And key point is the next healthy thing on the plate. We're talking about exposure, not 1 or 2 bites and then junk food, but 1 or 2 bites and then the next experience, the next healthy thing. So that's the F for focus. The A in our acrostic is for acknowledge. Acknowledge what you can and you can't control. So in the comments section, why don't you let me know, do you feel like this whole thing, mealtime, is completely out of control? You've lost the battle. Have you given up? Or are you pressing through, trying every day to introduce new foods? I'd love to know. Oh, I see Jesse says his dad is from Caracas. Small world, such a small world. So are you introducing new foods, Jesse, whose dad is from Caracas? Are you, there's a heritage. A lot of us have a heritage from different places. And that's a perfect way to expand and stretch those taste buds, get them exposed to new things. Okay, so again, Acknowledge what you can. A is for acknowledge what you can and can't control. What you can control is you can control what comes into the house. When you're out shopping, you can shop for fresh foods, simple ingredients. Eliminate yellow, white, and gold foods to the best of your ability. Foods such as corn, pasta, potatoes, fried foods, cheese, white flour, white rice, sugar. Generally speaking, if it's white or yellow or gold, if your child is going to take one bite of something, that one bite is best to be something that's rich in nutrition and color and vibrant, because that's where the nutrients are, rather than to have them eating that pasta, right? So maybe the first bite is nutrition, the colorful thing, the non-yellow, white, or gold food, right? Get that first bite of nutrition in. If that's the best you can do, then move on to the belly fillers, such as pasta and potatoes and all those less nutrition-rich foods. But the key is get that nutrition, even 1 or 2 bites initially, just to prime the pump, right? That's going to be a key. So you can control what comes into the house. Fresh, simple, 5 ingredients. If you have to look at the back of the box or the back of the container and there's words you can't even pronounce, they have no business being in your home. So this is strategic when it comes to dealing with our picky eaters. When you don't have a picky eater, when you have a child that will eat whatever you put on the table, you can mix up the non-nutritious food with the nutritious food. It's all going to get into their body. But if you're dealing with a picky eater, you want to make sure that every little bite counts. Okay? So that is what you can control, what comes into the house. What you cannot control is how much is eaten. You can't, you can't cram food into your child's belly. You can't do it. All kinds of issues, eating issues, develop when we make food such a chronic big deal and fight, and that tension really rises, especially as they get older. Right now, your children are younger, and this is all just exploratory, and the messaging is all just starting to form. But in just a year or 2, mindsets are going to settle in. They're going to cement. So it's more important now more than ever that you, just like a muscle, that you keep working it until it gets that flexibility and strengthens and it can tolerate more. That's what it's all about right now. So you can't control how much is eaten, and you can't control whether they like it or not. You can't demand pleasure. You don't have to. You can take that issue right off the table. So let me ask you, Mom, Dad, when you work on putting something together and putting it out on the table and hoping that your child is going to like it, and it's pleasurable as the person preparing the meal to see your child enjoy. When you see your child not enjoying the food you put out, do you pull it away? Do you quickly try to remedy the situation by finding anything your child will like and eat? I'm looking at the ages of your children, and I'm suggesting that now is the time to really, really exercise your window of opportunity to use hunger as a motivator. If they're hungry, they're eventually going to try a little something. If they're not hungry, of course they're going to reject it. And if they know that crying, whining, complaining is going to get them the thing that they like, the mac and cheese or the the French fries or the chicken nuggets, McDonald's, all that stuff, if they know that's a possibility, they're going to hold out for that option. And the thing is, our children, they read us well. They learn very, very early on just how to push our buttons and just how long it takes before we cave. Their brains are little scientists. So keep in mind that you are under their little science brain is in operation all the time. And children know that if they whine or cry or complain long enough, we're going to cave, right? And that's not our job right now. It's not our job to cave, to give them whatever they want if that thing is no good for them, right? So that's the acknowledge. That's the A. Acknowledge what you can control and what you can't control, and be okay with that, right? It's more about us than it is about our children. At the end of the day, we're really calling the shots, and it's very important that we walk in our calm, assertive leadership, meaning we don't let ourselves get rattled and lose it and give in when our kids press our buttons. And that's easier said than done. But ultimately, that is what it comes down to. Because if a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old can manipulate and cause you to cave and falter, they're only going to get better at it at 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, right? So the truth is, it's never going to be any easier than it is right now to walk in your calm, assertive leadership, accept that they may not like what you're offering, may not eat much, but if you can get 1 or 2 little bites in there, even if it's just on the tip of their tongue, it's a step in the right direction. So finally, the last letter in our FAT is teach. T is for teach. Teach life lessons using food. So the thing is, life involves doing hard things, and there are life lessons we have to teach our children, and we can use food to teach our children life lessons. And I'm always reminding my clients, don't miss out on an opportunity. We have to find those opportunities to teach our children and nurture them and help them become their best selves. And food is an opportunity to do that, to teach them life lessons. So what are the life lessons? Life involves doing hard things, and they're good for us, but they're not always pleasant. And every single day, we all do hard things that aren't pleasant, but are good for us. And a child, even as young as 2 years old, is not too young to begin hearing that message. And we can connect and bond in our feelings and still get the hard thing done. Secondly, when it comes to teaching skills using food, our bodies need the right fuel, just like cars need the right gas. Our kids know already, even at very, very young ages, that mommy, daddy stops at the gas station and puts gas in the tank so that we can go places. Food is the same way. And we can play with our children using cars and toys and when we're out and about to teach our children that the body works just in the same way that a car does. So the last thing that I want to share with you when it comes to teaching, and this is a big one, sugar is not a reward. This is a big mistake that I see happening across the board. When we're dealing with our picky eaters, we have a tendency to say, if you just eat the vegetable or the yucky, nutritious thing, you can have the cookie, you can have the snack once you eat the yucky thing. But what message is that sending to our children? It's sending a message that junk food is a reward. We're rewarding our children for doing the hard, yucky thing with sweets and junk. And it creates the wrong message. It actually creates the opposite message that we want to send. It creates a negative relationship with nutrition and weight problems way down the road. How many of us wish that we didn't turn to bad food as a form of release, as a form of reward, as a form of pleasure? Right? So we experientially know what it's like to get the wrong message about food. So in conclusion, kids are going to complain. They're going to resist. We don't have to make them eat a whole plate of spinach to accomplish the goal of good eating habits. We only need to expose them to a variety of tastes, textures, smells, and colors. Whether they have sensory issues or not, the goal is still the same. It's about making the next step. I remember hearing a coach, a physical trainer, say something that is so relevant for this conversation. He was working with obese people, and he was insisting that they run, that they get outside and they do these hard things. And these students were crying and frustrated and wanting to give up. And he said, listen, if you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, stand. If you can't stand, sit up. Right? Like whatever you may not be able to do the thing you want to do, but there's something you can do. And that's very relevant when it comes to our children and food. If they're resisting everything, just get the taste on their tongue. If they can put it in their tongue, but they don't want to eat a lot of it, your win is to swallow one bite. You can grind up vegetables and put it in meatloaf and meatballs. You can put cauliflower and puree it and put it in meat sauce. I could go on and on. There are all different ways of taking that next step in whatever way we can. And ultimately, those little baby steps are what create the victories that we're looking for. So to a hungry person, even what is bitter tastes sweet. To a full person, even what is sweet tastes bitter. If your situation is unique or you have unique concerns, you can reach out to me, and you can certainly ask some questions here now as we turn the floor over to Sherry.
Oh, Loyla, it was so wonderful hearing your suggestions. I could go on and on about how wonderful they are, but for the time's sake, I think our parents would like to ask their questions. My daughter has been putting them together, so we're hoping that we can get to at least a few. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Some of them are kind of specific, but I think they end up being a common question in the end. So I'm just going to ask them. The first question is it typical for toddlers to like a food one day and resist it the next?
Yes, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, what tends to happen is if a parent is not aware of this tendency, they're thrown off track. I see this happen a lot where they're thinking, what happened? My child liked this food yesterday. Oh no, I can't offer it anymore because their child stopped liking it. But that's no reason to stop. Keep offering. Again, it always comes back to expanding, taking that next step, whatever you can do. Don't let your child's change in preferences alter your mission. Keep your focus, right? FAT. Keep your focus on your mission, and you'll ride over those ups and downs in their taste buds.
So the next question, I'm going to combine two questions together because they're kind of similar. What if they refuse to take the first bite, even of the nutritious food? Do we let them go to bed hungry or give in to the yellow white food?
So again, it comes down to, if you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, just stand up. Do whatever you can do. Can you get the flavor on your child's tongue? If that's all you can do for today and they spit it out, it's still a victory, mom, dad. It's still a victory because you got that flavor on your tongue and you'll do the very next thing tomorrow. So now when it comes to letting them go to bed hungry, it's okay once, twice to let them, well, let me back it up and say this. We never want to reward our children's lack of cooperation with giving them lots of snacks because they're hungry. And I've seen this happen. I have a client whose child, 8-year-old child, will only drink that nutrition drink, that sweet nutrition drink, Pediasure. That's it. Other than that, it's McDonald's hamburgers. And of course, there's behavioral issues, there's health issues. Mama has given in to the demands of her child, and that child will take that and run with it. So you're always going to keep on track with your focus. Do whatever the thing is you can do. They may go to bed a little hungry. They can drink some water. They can drink a little, milk, especially if they're going to bed hungry one night because they refuse to eat and they're going to be up hungry all night. Well, a little cup of warm milk, that tryptophan will be just enough to help them sleep through the night. And now in the morning, they're going to wake up hungry. But mom, dad, don't let them fill their belly with junk if they're going to wake up hungry. That's your pristine moment. That's prime opportunity to give them some sort of nutrition that maybe you weren't able to give them the last night. Now, you don't have to give morning foods in the morning. Like, there's no law or requirement that says it has to be pancakes and cereal in the morning, right? So you get what I'm saying. The goal is get the nutrition in where the window of opportunity allows it. I hope that answers the question.
That is a fabulous answer. And we use that example about morning food and afternoon food a lot because we're all peanut free. So feed them peanut butter at home if that's one of their favorite foods. So this is non-related to the topic that of the last three questions. My child refuses to sit at the table and ends up going off. Should we let them go hungry or feed them on the go? How much should we enforce sitting at the table?
I love that question because it has everything to do with your calm, assertive leadership. And I specialize in working with strong-willed kids. So this is a very common question that comes up is, my child doesn't listen to me. My child gets up and does whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. And that means, mom, dad, you've got to be even more clever. You've got to find out what is the thing that motivates your child. And that becomes the thing that's going to catch their attention. So what do I mean by that? If your child doesn't want to sit at the table because they want to get on the iPad, they want to play with some little game that they have or a little toy that they have, bring the toy to the table, bring the iPad to the table, bring the thing that they want, that they've got their eyes focused on, bring that to the table. Now they're looking at the thing. Now you can offer a spoonful of whatever it is that they want because they're preoccupied with the thing they want. Now that's just a way to prime the pump, to get success started, right? So, one success builds another success. So when you're dealing with a child who's running all around, find the thing that they're after and bring it. Now you have it. And now you can assert your calm, assertive leadership.
So I think with that question, we're getting a lot of questions about, are we saying no to dessert? Are we taking dessert off the table?
Like-
Or are we using a different reward? Or is like the iPad or the book or the TV the reward now? Right?
Yeah, like are stickers a good reward? What's better than, oh, you can have this piece of candy if you eat this vegetable? Like, what's a better substitution for that?
Right. So I want to suggest that you change your mindset about the reward and food. What I want to suggest is that in your mind, it's almost like getting dressed in the morning. There's really no rewards for getting dressed in the morning. It's just something we do because that's what we do as part of our day. And sometimes our kids don't want to get dressed in the morning. Sometimes they don't want to get out of bed, but we don't offer them a reward for it. We simply say, this is part of our day. And the things that they want to do don't happen until they're dressed and they're out of bed and so on and so forth. Mealtime is the same way. Sitting at the table, eating the nutritious food, it's just part of our day. There are no rewards for eating the food. Maybe they move on to a different food that's on the table, right? After they eat the one food, then they move on to the different food. But this idea of reward, I think, sends a message that's confusing. So when I say, if your child is up and running and not sitting still, grab the thing that they want, I'm not suggesting that you're going to reward them. I'm suggesting that you bring the thing that has their attention and now you have it. That's not a matter of reward. That's a matter of bringing the distraction, making the distraction work for you. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. So one of the questions, I really don't have to read it off the page because we do get this question a lot. Why do they eat all of their food at school and mom and dad are packing healthy food and maybe a cookie for dessert or something? I know we are NAEYC accredited, and it's a lot of what you're saying, Loyla. You could probably say it better than I, but people are wondering why at dinner time is there such a fight at home, but at lunchtime they're eating their food. We're letting them know they ate their healthy food and they're getting up and throwing it away and moving on to the next thing.
So are you saying that the children eat the healthy food at school?
Yes, and I'm saying it's really because of what you're saying. The teachers don't have an expectation or the energy that is going on at home. It's mealtime. They know it's mealtime. They know how long they have to eat. They know it's gonna be time to throw it away soon. We're not saying you're getting your cookie last. You can eat your cookie first, but we are encouraging to take bites and to taste. And they see their peers too. That's a lot of it, trying it. But it's interesting that they will try a lot of things at school that parents say they won't try at home.
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with peer pressure. The youngest child is still impacted by their peers. We are social creature, pack animals. And that's why so many times a child will be so cooperative in the school environment, but then once they get home, it's a whole different ball game because now they're not in this group dynamic where everybody's doing the same thing. Or the teacher may be really sitting squarely in their calm, assertive leadership, and the children all recognize it and acquiesce to it. Whereas at home with mom and dad, they kind of know how to push your buttons. Maybe you're tired at the end of the day, and they learn very quickly what they can get away with, right? So possibly in the school setting, there's not that emotional dynamic where kids can can trigger and pull strings and get away with that stuff, whereas at home they know they can.
Absolutely. This question is one of the last questions. It says, how do you get them to mix food on their plate?
How do you get them to mix food? Can you expand on that question?
Like rice and veggies and have that be a meal and not just here's your rice, here's your vegetables.
Well, here's something to consider. I don't know if this is answering the question, but maybe it is. Some children will sit at the table and refuse to eat their vegetables. But if you put those same vegetables out in like a crudité, just on the table with a little dip or something earlier in the day, just have that food out, they will nibble on it and they will get their nutrition at a different point of the day. And then you don't really need to even worry about it at dinner time. When they get the nutrition is not as important as the fact that did they get it in the 24 hours. So sometimes just noshing, having food, healthy foods out, having them nibble means they come to the table and they're not even that hungry, but then you don't have that fight. They ate the nutritious food. Now you can spend that time in the socializing, connecting, talking, having fun, and kind of like lay low on the, eat the vegetable thing. They already did it. So when you're talking about mixing foods, I guess what I'm saying is you don't necessarily have to mix the foods. You can break them up.
Wonderful, wonderful answer. So people are saying, will they be able to get a copy of this? Their husband is at work, didn't get a chance to watch tonight. I know that we are recording this webinar and that we plan to put it on YouTube with Loyla's okay. She also has her own business, which I think Mark was going to try to share her bio either in the chat.
So I'm not able to share. I don't have access to put the information in the chat box. So hopefully Mark Anthony or you, Sherry, can share that information.
You should be able to do it now, Loyla.
Okay, he just made you a co-host.
There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna.
So Loyla works with families for the most part, and parents with emotional intelligence, listening, trauma bonding, frustration. One of her greatest topics is lose the loud, like stop the yelling at your children. And it is just the most amazing thing. You can join her on Facebook. And my other favorite topic that she talks about is the strong-willed child. If any of these topics resonate with you, you can get in touch with her. If you didn't get your question answered tonight, you can get in touch with her. And I will also try to share the rest of anybody's questions up here with her as well. I think she just put some information in the chat of how you can contact her.
Yeah. So if you want to follow up and you have any last minute questions, you can use the link. It's in the chat, a 15-minute brainstorming call. We can follow up and customize whatever would work best for your child. I put in there a bonus, no more whining. So a lot of times whining is part of the whole picky eating, not wanting to cooperate. You can grab that if you're interested. And then finally, underneath that is my website and business, mothersintraining.org. You can poke around on there. There's lots of resources, and maybe you'll get some of your questions answered there as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Loyla, for joining us. Thank you for your compassion and your understanding about the aged children that we deal with and work with every single day. We love your children. We are going to continue these webinars monthly, so make sure you look for those emails. And we may have Loyla come back with another topic next time. In the meantime, make sure you jot down her information, and thank you so much for joining us. Good night, everybody.
Good night.